Okay, this time I want to work a little bit on the program we created on episode 49, which is where we made experiments with the copy function. We were copying part of an image from an image we loaded into the screen. We're actually drawing a shape like this from side to side. So I would like to move this box here up and down randomly. I know just to choose which part of the image I'm copying, this rectangle here, I can just move this Y value. That would move this box up and down. If I do that quickly, I'm copying random blocks from this image here and drawing them here. Then I will have some interesting animation. So I just have to change this value here, the Y value. But if I use the random function or the noise function, I'm gonna have a little problem, and I'm gonna show you what's happening. So I have to change this value. This 130. Let's run it like this. You can see it there. If I change it to 230, you can see I'm copying a different block of the image. So I just have to make this random. Should be quite easy. I just type here random 200, for example. And it doesn't work. And why doesn't it work? The message down here sometimes is a little bit hard to understand. You can see that the method copy here, and it's showing me here all the data types. That's the first field here. This photo should be a P image, and all the rest should be integers. So we're gonna see in a moment what's the difference between a float and an integer. But the problem is that this random function is returning a float, not an integer. And you can see this on the reference here. If you look for random, you can see random returns float, it says here. But the copy function, which we need, let's see, copy, it's down here. And all the parameters it takes are integer, int, all of them. And that's quite interesting because we didn't have a problem like that before when we were drawing lines or rectangles or points. You can see, like, for example, a rectangle takes both int or float. So it doesn't have a problem with which kind of number or which kind of variable you're using. But copy is more picky about it, at least in this version of processing. So let's see a short example. What's this difference between int and float? I'm gonna make here two variables, int a equals 2 and float b equals 7. And when the program starts, I'm just gonna print them here. Print ln, I'm gonna print a, and I'm gonna print b. And let's run the program and see what happens. Well, I have to fix this for now, so I will type just 130, so I can run the program. And now you can see that the first variable is printing as 2, and the second variable is printing as 7.0. Even I type here 2 and 7. To this float variable, I can add some decimals if I want. See, I can type 7,23, and if I run the program, I see here 7,23. But if I type here 2,1 for the int variable, it says I cannot convert from float to int. The variables that are of type int, they cannot have any decimals here. They are integer numbers. So now it works. So this is being a problem now. You cannot put any numbers with decimals into a place where it's expecting just an integer. So that's why here I cannot type 2.43. And for the same reason, I cannot type here, enter a random function, because random returns a float value, but the copy function wants an integer. But it can be fixed. It's not so hard. Look, I can show you here. I can type int a equals random 200. This will not work because random returns a float. You can see here. But I can just fix it by typing int around. Int, open parentheses, and close parentheses at the end. So I'm converting any value here into an integer. And now I should get rid of this print here, print b, because the b variable doesn't exist. So now I'm just printing here a random variable, which is an integer. See, I print a number. It's creating any number between 0 and 200. Actually, the number it's creating probably has lots of decimals. But when I use this int function, it's removing all the decimals. So then it can store this number into this variable a. Okay, I don't know if it's really clear, but this will be very easy to see here. Now if I type here random 200, it doesn't work. But if I type an int around it, then it's fixed. Because I'm converting a float number into an integer. And because copy can only take integers. So now I have this really fast moving animation. Actually, it would look much nicer probably using the noise function instead of random. So let's do that. So let's use here the noise function, but instead of making this line really, really long, I'm gonna type here a y variable and I will declare, well, remember this time it has to be int because it doesn't like float. So it's int y, and here I will say int of something. So I will convert it to integer. And inside I will use a map of something. We use the map to convert something coming out from the noise function into a set of values which are okay for our screen. So now here's a lot of parentheses. You have to really pay attention to when you open and close all these parentheses. So we are mapping our noise function that returns a number between 0 and 1. So I type here 0, 1, and then I will map this into values between 0 and 200, which can be okay for our screen. And noise function takes one variable. I will declare a variable a, which we will increase slowly. So I will say here float a equals 0, and I will increase it at the end of the draw function. So a equals a plus 0,01, for example. So let's run the program, and now you can see that it's bouncing like slowly in a much more interesting way. So I let you try. You can do the same with the x value here, this 30. You can convert it into a variable called x, and you could convert these two values here also into two other variables, maybe called I can type them here and you finish the program. Int x equals something, and then int width will be something, int height will be something. And you just type these variables here, x, y, width, and height. Just try to copy this line into the other variables and you will get a quite interesting effect.